I mean, like you were saying, younger man, he was sleeping in the venue, and my pops didn't even really know he was in there until my aunt walked in and he upped the AK on my aunt, and then my dad had to throw him out and
Wait,
found out
hold
that
on,
he, yeah,
wait. Youngin up the top on your auntie?
yeah, on my dad's sister, dog.
The aunt that got the gun drawn on her, that was me.
Can you
I
can
was,
you can you can you walk us through that night?
well, it was honestly, I don't even think it was night. I think it was in the evening. I was on my way in. Tyson had sent me in to go get something out of my office. And I was going through the back of the club where the offices were. And all of a sudden, I I felt like somebody was there. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just me. It's creepy in here. It's dark. I'm trying to get to the lights. The next thing I know, I felt a barrel in my face. And the lights came on, and I was like, what the hell?
And what did the
You-
person say to you?
Who are you and what are you doing in here? I said, who are you and what are you doing in here? Well, I stay in here. And I'm like, well, I'm Tyson's sister. Oh. And then he just put the gun down. But it scared the living shit out of me because I was, coming in not thinking anybody was in there and just trying to go get something out of my office, and to have a gun pulled on you, it's like, yeah, that's not good. That's
What
not a
what,
good
hap-
thing at all.
what happened from that point? Did you say he
Well,
apologized? You guys
he
just
he apologized, and I wound up calling Tyson, and I was like, dude, I just had a damn gun pulled in my face. He was like, by who? I said, somebody in this club. Well, he wound up running over there, not running, but driving over there to find out. I mean, I don't even know the guy's name. I didn't pay attention to a lot of the guys' like stage names and stuff because I was the type of person that if I met you, I didn't care who you were. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be in any industry and I didn't care because in my eyes, we all put our pant legs on one leg at a time and we all bleed red. So he wound up going over there and finding out who the guy was. And he wound up putting them all out the club because he was like, I'm not going to have y'all accidentally shooting my sister for coming here and doing her job. And after that, I was like, you know what? I think for a while until, everything calmed down and he got everybody out because I told him, I said, I'm not going back and have that. At that time, I had a real young daughter. You know what I'm saying? My daughter was like 2, 3 years old. And I was like, I can't risk coming up in here and getting freaking shot behind coming to do something for you.
and that's kind of wild, right? So it leads me to this question: like, what was going on in Tyson's life at that time that something like that could happen?
Well, to me, it was like, and this is just my opinion, and opinions are like a-holes. Everybody's got one. A lot of people used them. They seen the warehouse of the club, of how big it was, the empty spaces that were in the back that were being built out into like, studios, offices, just big areas. And it was like, oh, well, we need a place to stay. I don't have nowhere to go. And my brother was so kind-hearted and he wanted to help everybody. And I used to tell him that's your downfall. Your downfall is and it's sad because I'm the same way. I want to help everybody. I want to be Saberho, but I can't. I've learned in life you can't. And people were just using them. I mean, at one time I could tell you they had 15, 20 people sleeping in the club. They would sleep in the VIP rooms. They would sleep on the couches that they had in there. They would sleep in offices. It was just crazy. And I told them, I said, this is not a hotel. This is a business. And then we had the factor of, I would have to go to, because I did a lot for my brother. I did his books. I used to do all of his accounts receivable, accounts payable. I did all the stuff for the liquor orders. I ordered the shirts. I did the schedules. I sometimes had to come in and hire and fire. Um,
So you was almost a business partner.
Basically, and funny story, he called me one night and he was like, hey sis, I need you to do me a favor. And I said, what's up? And he said, can you come work my door? Now this was back during the time that we were pumping about 3,500 Asians through the club. on a Saturday night. And he said, something's going on where my door girl is making more than my bartenders. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, the girl needed the night off or something. So he's like, yeah, no problem. Take the weekend off. My sister will work Friday and Saturday. Well, Saturday came along and I'm at the door. And, people at night didn't know me. I worked during the day. So I'm at the door and this guy walks up and he goes, you know the deal? And I said, what deal? He goes, I give you $25. You give me a wristband. You take 15 and put it in your tip jar. And I'm paying for the wristband. I was like, oh, I'm new. And I pointed up. I was like, there's a camera right here. I'll get fired. They're watching me because tonight's my first night. He's like, oh, okay, well, I'll catch you another night. So what she was doing was she was selling his wristbands. The wristbands that let the bartenders know that these people were 21 and was able to buy liquor.
When he got into the music industry, the music business,
I met a lot of nice people through him getting into the music industry.
Did you meet any celebrities?
Yeah. I met Juvenile. That's my boy. I have nothing bad to say about him. The night my brother passed, he's the most realest dude I've ever met. He waited at the club for me the night my brother passed. And because I said I was coming up there. And, they had people there. And I mean, I don't exactly know who was there because that night's still a fog to me. But Juvenile would not leave until I got there. And, sometimes when a tragedy happens in your life, you might just need a hug. You don't want to hear anything about, oh, your brother was this or that, everything. You just need a hug. And I can give you that. Juve gave me a hug and he was like, everything's going to be okay. So people could say what they want about Juvenile. I have my own thoughts on him. I have no problems with him. I've always, I like his wife, LaDonna. We used to hang out at the club when she was there. I met Snipe from the Chopper City Boys. He was one of my real good friends. I met him through my brother at the club and really didn't even realize who he was until one day I was at a Pelicans game and recognized him with my kids. And I was like, where do I know this guy from? And he was like, oh, I know your brother Tyson. And then that's when I put two and two together that it was in that music industry. I know Baby Boy the Prince. He used to come by my house, and every time I would cook, he'd steal food, a pork chop or something off of my stove. If I cooked breaded pork chops, then my dog would snatch it out of his hand while he was trying to eat it. We'd laugh and joke. But, I mean, I didn't have any problems with him. I met Kengo and Misdemeanor. I had one little issue with Misdemeanor one time, and I don't hold it against him. He's a nice dude. I don't know too much about them. I like their music. I still play their music. Um,
How was Tyson's relationship with the guys that you're naming, with all those artists that you're naming?
I didn't see he had any problems. Those I didn't see he had any problems with. Honestly, I didn't see what they were doing as far as in the label wise, to earn a paycheck, so that was my issue with my brother. I'm like, I'm a person that you need to show me what you're doing. Show me what, I mean, you could release a song, but okay, what am I paying you $800, $900 a week, every 2 weeks for? What am I having you drive around in a car for? You know what I'm saying? Why I'm paying your light bill? What are you bringing into me? And that was the biggest fight that me and my brother used to have. Cause I'm like, sometimes I feel like people are using you. They see what you have. They see the house in Stonebridge. They see the house on Florida Lee. They see the cars. They see you every time you go somewhere, you're quick to pay. No, don't do that. Let them treat you sometimes. But it rarely happened. And if it did, I was never around for it.
When he got the deal, right? He got the who was the
Well,
label deal again?
I heard through, through being at the club that there was a deal that was going to be done with him and Gene Nelson. I didn't go into too much of that because I didn't want to be wrapped up with the label. I had enough work with the club, and the 9 million employees he had there. And, I did cut checks to the people through the label that, so claimably did things in the club, which I never seen, but the money's wise of it, I was never there for the conversations. That wasn't where I wanted to be, you know. It's like when Tyson died, I had people show up at my house. I had two big old burly dudes show up at my house and try to break in my house. I really believe that people thought that I got his money because they knew that I was the closest to him, you know, and it didn't scare me. I went running out the door and was like, let's do this, but I had people threaten to shoot my house up. My kids were sleeping on the floor. Me, I was sitting up. I was like, well, if I'm gonna die today, I'm gonna die today, but and I didn't know who sent these guys. I was like, I didn't understand it. I was never rude to anybody. I was never mean to anybody. And it was like, to me, it was all behind money. And it was like, somebody took the money. I don't know where it went.
Days up until Tyson's departure, were there any signs that something was wrong or that?
No, he had told me, okay, so it was the Wednesday before he died. He called the big staff meeting at the club and um, he said he had the whole staff there and he was like, look, I want to let y'all know I'm going on vacation for a while. I want to go see my kids. Meaning the boys, his son Robert and, his twin brother. And he said, I want to go see my boys. I want to go see them, do the things they do. He says, I'm turning everything over to my sister. If you need anything, and I was there. He was like, if you need anything, you call her. Do not call me. I will not answer. We had a good meeting that night. Next thing I know, I went home. He went home. I got a knock on my door that he was dead. That was a Wednesday, and on a Friday. It was Thursday going on to Friday. It was at midnight. The person knocked on my door. It was his tattoo artist at 2:30 in the morning. He looked at me and said, Aimee, Danny. And I said, okay, let me go get my shoes. And he goes, Danny's dead. And I hit the ground. And then I walked back out and I said, what did you say? I'm going to get my shoes and we're going to go get Danny. And he goes, Aimee, Danny's gone. He's dead. And I said, what the do you mean? And excuse my French.
Yeah,
And
you're fine.
he was like, Aimee, he's gone. He's gone. And I just stood there numb. And I'm like, in my mind, it's not true. It's not true. My brother's not gone. You know what I'm saying? He's not gone. And then the next thing you know, here comes my family pulled up. My grandmother, my aunts, his friend, one of his best friends pulled up and he's crying. And then right there, reality just sat in. And I wound up falling asleep with my cell phone like in my chest and I laid on it. And I had 35 or more missed calls from his phone number.
Mm. From his phone number.
From his phone number after midnight. And I didn't hear it because I was sleeping on my phone. So when I seen it, I blamed myself for a long time. And I was like, well, if I'd have just answered the phone, he'd still be here. But it was after midnight, you know. After my brother passed, um, we were all going, everybody that went to the funeral, was going to go there. People have food and stuff like that after funerals and stuff. And we figured that, he had over 750 people show up at his funeral. We figured if all of them showed up, the club would be the best place to have it. We had a problem with them opening the club to get it. But the last big thing that I can say that just really peeved me off was I had gotten a call from the fire marshal because, like I said, I was on the contact list. I was the one that worked in the office. And he was like, I need to go in and I need to inspect the club, all the pull stations, make sure the fire extinguishers are there, all of that. I was like, okay, not a problem. So I go over, I have my mom with me. I go over and at the club. Who else is there? I have no clue. They were in the back. Because I could hear other people there. And I mean, they just acted like the next day just went on like it was nothing. This was after my brother passed. And I go in and I'm like, yeah, I don't know exactly where all the pull stations are. So if you know where they are in the back, just let me know. So I'm walking with the fire marshal and we're testing everything out. And we get done with him and he leaves. My mom and I are standing there. My mom starts asking, we're asking to go in my brother's office. Not that I should have had to ask to even go in my office. And my mom's like, I want his Rolodex. Now, mind you, the operating licenses and everything is in my brother's name. Everything is in his name.
Yeah, that's the part I didn't understand. Like, how come you guys couldn't go in there legally and get shit
Well,
done?
this is what happened. I was like, hey, I want to go get some stuff out of his office. I need to make some calls. I need his Rolodex. Next thing I know, NOPD shows up and I'm like, what the hell is the cops doing here? And he was like, they need to leave. And I'm like, I need to leave. This is my brother's business. And then we had, death certificate and everything, well, not death certificate, but, obituary, everything in hand to prove that he had passed. And the NOPD officer walks in and I'm like, my brother's name is on that wall. My mom's like, them licenses are in my kid's name. Why are we being asked to leave? Cop escorted me out and said I could not return. Put a no trespassing on us. Everything disappeared. Studio equipment, furniture disappeared. My dad had his restaurant equipment stored in the back of the club. It was a big warehouse in the back. All of that gone. Everything was gone. They took everything, even shit that was screwed down. And it was like, how did you benefit? And the weirdest thing was is my brother used to tell my mom and I all the time, and it was weird. He would always say, if anything ever happens to me, turn my computer over to the FBI. And I was like, what? Huh? And he was like, if anything ever happens to me, turn my computer over to the FBI
What was the computer in the club or at his house?
at his house.
Did
It
you
was,
guys get the computer?
well, yeah, my mom had it. My mom may still have it. I don't know. But it was turned over and then they kept it for a long time. And I don't know what they were looking for because we couldn't get into it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know any of his passwords. I had my own passwords. I never used my brother's passwords. I always had my own. And they come and brought the computer back, and I looked the FBI agent dead in his face. I'll never forget it. And I was like, I know you can't tell me anything that's on that computer, but can you tell me one thing? And he said, I'll see if I can answer it. I said, was there anything on that computer that is incriminating, that would incriminate my brother to embarrass his kids? And the guy looked me dead in my face and he said, no, ma'am. He said, but I feel sorry for the rest. And I was like, don't need to know no more. And I just took the computer back and called it a wrap. It is what it is. But my thing is someone knows the truth. Somebody knows what happened and why, and I have I have closure because I choose to have closure. Does it bother me? It bothers me every day. My brother was supposed to be the indicator of where my gray hair was going to be. You know, he was supposed to be walking side by side with me with his grandkids and my grandkids. I don't have that.